Welcome to the League of Statistics. I'm Surza, and today we'll be doing a preseason analysis on masteries, as well as clarifying the ambiguities in some masteries. Masteries were left relatively unchanged from the previous season. There are minor tweaks to existing masteries, including their row placement within a tree, and the addition of some new masteries. The biggest change is the removal of Strength of Ages for the new mastery Courage of the Colossus. While many might disagree, the removal of Strength of Ages is a healthy game improvement. In the last season, Strength of Ages was mandatory on nearly all junglers, tanks, and damage dealers alike, due to how valuable 300 bonus health was on any champion, and how easily it was to stack in the jungle. This allowed, in particular, damage dealing junglers to itemize for pure damage, while also being healthy enough to not be glass cannons, reducing or removing the cost of building in such a way. Now that it has been changed to Courage of the Colossus, which damage dealing junglers like Graves and Illy cannot use, it has returned the resolve tree to largely being focused on tank play, so damage dealing junglers will now look to the Ferocity and Cunning Keystone masteries instead. That being said, there will still be some damage dealing junglers who will use and benefit from Courage of the Colossus. Now before I go into detail on masteries, I'm sure there are some of you out there that want a quick and simple answer, so here's your bite-sized information on masteries. In the Ferocity tree, the changes are on row 2 with the new mastery Fresh Blood, in which your first basic attack does 10 plus level damage on a 6-second cooldown. In row 4, the new mastery Battle Trance gives 1% damage per second while in combat with an enemy champion, capping at 5%. Bounty Hunter is changed to give 1.5% per unique enemy kill with a max of 7.5% damage. Double-Edged Sword now gives 5% increased damage for 2.5% increased damage taken. Oppression is removed. Finally, in row 6, Fervor of Battle is changed to give 1 to 6 AD based on level per stack instead of on-hit damage. In the Cunning tree, the only change is in row 4 with the new master Greenfather's Gift, in which stepping into a bush causes your next attack or ability to do 3% of the target's current health as bonus magic damage, with a 9-second cooldown. In the Resolve tree, the changes are in row 2 with the new mastery Siege Master, where you gain 8 armor and magic resist while near allied towers. Row 4 with the new mastery Fearless, where you gain 10% armor and magic resist plus 2 flat armor and magic resist per level for 2 seconds when damaged by an enemy, with a 9-second cooldown. And row 6 with the new mastery Courage of the Colossus, where you gain a shield for 10 plus 10 times level plus 7% of your maximum health for each nearby enemy champion for 4 seconds after hitting an enemy champion with a hard crowd control, with a 30-second cooldown. Moving on to the in-depth discussion of masteries, we'll start with the Ferocity tree. Row 1 has no changes, and the benefits from each mastery is straightforward. In the second row, you have the addition of the new mastery Fresh Blood. The benefit of this mastery is straightforward. Every 9 seconds, your next auto attack will do 10 plus level damage. Also in row 2 is Exposed Weakness, which is vague in its wording. Exposed Weakness increases ally damage only. Neither you nor your pets will benefit, does not stack, and has a 3-second duration from when last damaged. The simplest fix to this mastery, for clarity's sake, is to have it debuff opponents so players know when and who they do more damage to. Row 3 has no changes, and benefits from each mastery are straightforward. Row 4 has a lot of changes. First off, Double-Edged Sword has been moved to this row and now increases damage by 5% to everything, and increases damage taken by 2.5%. Bounty Hunter also has had its numbers increased to 1.5% damage to everything per unique enemy kill, for a total of 7.5% increased damage to everything. The new Mastery Battle Trance, which, for clarity's sake, increases your damage by 1% each second you are in combat with an enemy champion, capping at 5%. As such, this mastery will only benefit you when in combat with an enemy champion, while the other two are passive bonuses. Row 5 has no changes, and the benefits from each mastery is straightforward. Row 6 changes Fervor of Battle from being a stacking on-hit effect to a stacking attack damage increase effect. This is significant as it opens up more champions to this mastery, and also buffs those that have good AD scaling. For clarification on Deathfire Touch, this mastery does 2 plus 15% bonus attack damage plus 6.25% bonus ability power as magic damage per second. Single target has a 4-second duration, AoE has a 2-second duration, and dots have a 1-second duration. I will go more into depth on the comparison to Thunderlord's Decree in the Cunning section. Finally, Warlord's Bloodlust is very vague and ambiguous as to how much lifesteal you'll actually have. Riot has only given 3 rough values of lifesteal you'll get at certain percent health missing values. This graph is the curve of the parabolic equation that runs through these 3 values. The x-axis is the percent health missing, and the y-axis is the amount of lifesteal you'll get, capping at 20. It's important to note this is as accurate a representation of Warlord's Bloodlust as you can get, but is not 100% accurate. Onto the Cunning tree. There is only one change to this tree, but it also has 1 or 2 masteries that are vague. Row 1 has no changes, and the benefits from each mastery are straightforward. Row 2 has the Assassin mastery, which has what you'll see to be a trend, the description with no allies are nearby, but does not define nearby. For Assassin, nearby is 800 units, which can be visually represented as this. Row 3 has no changes, and the benefits from each mastery are straightforward. Row 4 has the addition of Greenfather's Gift. This mastery has some interesting mechanical interactions. First off, it will trigger on any damage done to anything, including minions and monsters. It also has a unique mechanical interaction with dots. If you have a dot on a target, as soon as you step into a bush, this mastery will trigger. This is important to note, as with the previous interaction, if you have an AoE that applies dots, which you use to harass, as soon as you step into a bush, this mastery will trigger, with the potential to trigger on minions, putting it on cooldown. This can be a deal breaker for some champions, and this mastery might benefit from either prioritizing champions or only doing damage to champions to make it consistent. Rows 5 and 6 have no changes, and the benefits from each mastery are straightforward, but as I said previously, I want to bring up the comparison between Deathfire Touch and Thunderlord's Decree. This graph shows the damage per second of Deathfire Touch, red, the damage per second of Thunderlord's Decree, black, and the damage per action of Thunderlord's Decree, blue. The x-axis is time in seconds, and the y-axis is damage. To explain damage per action, this is the damage done when an ability is put on cooldown, and the value only increases when that ability comes off cooldown. This represents the actual damage pattern of abilities with cooldowns. This is the damage pattern of every ability and auto attack in League of Legends, aside from persistent dots, which have a DPS damage pattern. I know this is a bit confusing, which is why I included Thunderlord's DPS to help clarify. In this comparison, Thunderlord's is being calculated as if the individual is level 18 and therefore the ability has a base 180 damage and a 15-second cooldown. If you look at the upper left-hand corner, you'll see sliders for both attack damage and ability power. Now let's look at how these two scale with attack damage first. As you can see, Deathfire quickly surpasses Thunderlord's in both DPS and DPA at sub 150 bonus attack damage values. Now how about ability power? As you can see, Deathfire also surpasses Thunderlord's DPS at sub 200 ability power, but not its DPA. It's important to note that a DPS-based damage surpassing a DPA-based damage's DPA means it is significantly outdamaging it. This shows that at max level, in both stats, Deathfire quickly becomes the better mastery to do more overall damage, but is not better in short duration burst situations until higher levels of attack damage and ability power. This shows that at earlier levels, Deathfire is even better since it does not have a level scaling component while Thunderlord's does. Finally, we have the Resolve tree. This tree has gotten a few changes and additions, but also has vague wording and unclear mechanics to some of its masteries. Row 1 has no changes, and the benefits from each mastery are straightforward. Row 2 has the addition of the Siege Master mastery, which also has the vague terminology of nearby in it. The range for this mastery is the same range towers have, which is 775 units. Also, this benefit only works with towers that are alive. Row 3 has no changes, and the benefits from each mastery are straightforward. Row 4 has the addition of the new mastery, Fearless. Mechanically, it's straightforward. You get hit by an enemy and you get tankier for the next 2 seconds. However, the wording in the client is deceptive, so to clarify again, you gain 10% armor and magic resistance, plus 2 flat armor and magic resistance per level, for 2 seconds when damaged by an enemy, with a 9-second cooldown. Row 5 has no changes, but the Mastery Legendary Guardian includes the nearby terminology in it. In this instance, nearby is 625 units, represented by this. Row 6 features the change of Strength of Ages to Courage of the Colossus, which I discussed at the start of the video. However, this also suffers from the nearby terminology. The range for this mastery is roughly 625 to 650 units around your champion based on my testing. There is an interesting mechanic to this mastery for champions that have a crowd control that also pulls them to the target, like a Mumu. It seems these abilities determine who is nearby based on the arrival destination instead of where the caster is when the crowd control lands. As such, you'll still get benefit from landing a max range bandage toss into the middle of a team, even if you are 1,100 units away from the target at cast. Finally, for a quick clarification on Grasp of the Undying's mechanic, the damage done and the healing received are not linked. You will always heal for 1.5% of your max health regardless of how much damage the mastery actually does. Now, because of how long this video already is, I'm going to do a separate smaller video with my personal opinions on these changes. That's all on masteries. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, because we'll keep doing the math so you don't have to. Thank you for watching.